Wood County Delegate Scott Heckert is back from the Southern Legislative Conference. It's an annual gathering marking its 80th year that brought together over 1,500 lawmakers and policy experts from more than a dozen states. Heckert says the agenda covered everything from grid reliability to rural health care, access to education to AI and data centers. Heckert says the conference was an opportunity to learn what policies are and are not working in other states, bringing home a fresh perspective to apply to issues in the Mountain State.
You'll hear some people say, well, we don't want things from other states coming to West Virginia. Or just because it works in other states doesn't mean it'll work in West Virginia. Well, it doesn't necessarily mean that it won't either. You have to have an open mind. You have to work and look for a positive outcome.
Heckert lost his primary this year and won't be returning to the legislature in January. But he says he fully intends to keep using his experience and relationships to advocate for people and communities in Wood County.